When it came to Neil Lennon versus Brendan Rodgers, we as Celtic fans only ever had one favourite. Yes, Lennon was a hero at Parkhead. Throughout his Celtic career he had played over 300 times for the Hoops over a 7-year spell. Afterwards he of course led Celtic to 3 successive Premiership titles. A couple of Champions League campaigns can be thrown in there to boot. Yet in Rodgers, we felt we had the real deal and was our manager at the end of the day. We did have the real deal to an extent if you exclude Europe. He has a winning record of just under 70% and only suffered a domestic defeat during his nearly 3-year spell in charge. Brendan Rodgers and Neil Lennon met down in England in the past. John Powell, Liverpool FC via Getty Images. But in a way, it's fair to say that domestic success blinkered some of us to an extent. Not every supporter of course, as there were certainly a large part of the Celtic faithful that noticed his faults. But for me and I'm sure many others, Rodgers' success helped us become delusional to an extent to his faults. Lennon has since stepped in to take over, and has big shoes to fill. No matter what Lenny does, he'll still have the shadow of Rodgers' domestic bliss hanging over him. Many will feel Lennon is a downgrade due to Rodgers' clean sweep of trophies and previous successes at Swansea City and Liverpool respectively. Yet, when they fared against each other, Lennon came out on top more often than not. Brendan Rodgers only bested Neil Lennon 3 times in Scotland during his time in Scotland. Rodgers only managed to beat Lennon on 3 occasions. He fell to defeats on 2 separate occasions at Easter Road, and failed to win there in 3 attempts. At Celtic Park, Lennon bagged a 2-2 draw in their first ever meeting up here. That was followed by 1-0 and 4-2 defeats for Lennon inflicted by Rodgers. Lennon has outdone Rodgers tactically on several occasions. Vagelis Georgiou, Action Plus via Getty Images. There was one more meeting too. The second ever between the managers in Scotland came in last season's 4-2 win in the Betfred Cup semi-finals for Rodgers. But whereas Rodgers may have more in terms of victories, Lennon consistently had him beat tactically. In all 3 matches at Easter Road, Hibs exploited Celtic's lack of pace down the flanks. Lennon put Rodgers' defense under a high press, and the former Hoops manager didn't have a clue what to do about it. Rodgers tried everything he could. He varied his midfield against Hibs, tried different striking partnerships, and even tried to inject some youth on his last visit to Easter Road to give Celtic more energy. But no matter what he did, Lennon's Hibs were never phased, and only lost 3 times in 7 meetings. That's despite the fact Lennon only had a fraction of the budget Rodgers had too. Rodgers left Celtic having never won at Easter Road. Richard Heathcote, Getty Images. Lennon even toppled Rodgers' Liverpool when he was Celtic manager too. The 2 sides played in a friendly in Dublin back in 2013. An Amito Balda goal was enough to separate the sides. At the time the 2 squared off up here, many of us likely pointed fingers at certain individuals. The likes of Olivier Ntcham, Scott Brown, and Michael Lustig would likely have all come under fire. But the truth is that Lennon simply knew where Rodgers' Celtic could be got it. That alone is enough for us to know we're in good hands between now and the end of the season. So here's to hopefully another treble. But just because Rodgers is now out of the door, it doesn't mean we should be less optimistic about it happening.